Okay, so I'm going to kick off. As I say, I will keep half an eye on the waiting room and let people in as and when. Right, I'll move you over there. Okay, so welcome to the EREPS Network Insights series for May. And today we are kicking off the Offshore Nesting Bird Census with Xodus and OEUK, and they're both on this call. So just a bit of housekeeping. If you've been on one of these Insight series webinars before, sometimes we do a short presentation and then have Q&A after that. But on this occasion, it's fully Q&A, really. I'll do a bit of an introduction to what the survey is about, and then we'll go straight into a panel discussion. So before that, if you can leave all of your microphones on silent if you're not talking. But fully get involved when I say everybody switch your camera on, and there's my dogs. And that's why we keep microphones on silent. You can post questions if you don't want to turn your microphone on, post questions to the Zoom chat, or if you want to remain anonymous, Caroline's email address is here, and I've also posted that in the chat. So she's sitting at her computer, ready to go if you want to post any questions to her, and she can pose them back to the panel. So just quickly round our room. So I am Jill Butler-Rennie, founder of the EREPS Network and environmental consultant. I guess my role here is to facilitate today. The wider network provides an online and offline community through events and training, just to bring all relevant stakeholders together and promote workforce engagement of environmental issues. Matt, can you introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's McNeil Ferguson, and I'm an ecological specialist, and I work for Xodus.
Jess?
Hi, everyone. Jess Gallagher. I also work for Xodus as an environmental consultant with a large focus on ornithology.
And Caroline.
Hi all, my name's Caroline Brown and I'm the Environment Manager at Offshore Energies UK.
Okay. So as I just mentioned then, we provide environmental solutions to the oil and gas sector by bringing together operators, regulators, contractors, non-governmental organisations, the workforce and the supply chain. We engage, educate and empower with the aim to inspire sustainable change. That's really why any of us are here. So this is a great vehicle to launch an industry-wide initiative. Just as a bit of background then, the Nesting Birds Census, this is the first year that has been launched in 2024, and it's really just to improve the industry's understanding of how endangered seabirds use oil and gas platforms for nesting and rearing chicks. So as I say, this has not been done before. And it's going to give us, as an industry, an insight into the geographical distribution of what is, of course, an unconventional breeding site for these birds. And actually, there's quite a lot of noise, Mark, and I don't know whether this will come up in the Q&A, a lot of questions and chat around nesting birds on wind platforms as well, on turbine basis. So maybe we'll cover that later. So the census will actually take place next month. And as I say, hopefully there'll be subsequent annual surveys to give us a long-term data set. It's very collaborative. So, I'm here in my role, Xodus as the facilitators of the information gathering, supported by OEUK and JNCC, who I think are also on the call. So obviously we have to put some bird pictures in here. Why do we need the survey? So existing data tells us that kittiwakes nesting on platforms in the southern North Sea, with additional records of them around other areas, but the population has declined by 40% in recent years, and they're actually now on the IUCN red list, which means they're at risk of global extinction. But it isn't just all about the kittiwakes. We have similar concerns about razorbills, guillemots, herring gulls, and even carrion crows. So operators are legally obliged to avoid disturbing any nesting birds during this process, and will use the data from the survey to help make informed decisions moving forward. And of course, this is particularly relevant for decommissioned platforms as well. And I know that platform-specific surveys have already been carried out at some places in the North Sea. So hopefully that sets the scene. You've all had a lot of emails from Caroline and the wider OEUK. That's why we're here. This is why the survey is necessary. So really for the next 20 to 30 minutes, it's just an open platform to ask Jess, Caroline or Mac anything about the survey, how you can get involved, what it's all about. But I am going to start, Mac, by asking people who've been around in these roles for a few years, we'd be probably more familiar with the North Sea Bird Club. Now, I understand that ceased to exist in 2019, but that's where we used to report bird sightings to. So are you carrying on the work of the North Sea Bird Club? Is this a continuation or is it something different?
Thanks, Jill. That's a good question. So yes, I suppose in a sense we are trying to carry on the really good work that the North Sea Bird Club did. The North Sea Bird Club ran for 40 years between 1979 through to 2019, and it was amazing. And it's now quite an amazing repository of information. Although some of the information is now dated because of the age of it, it's giving us some really useful insights into how birds are using offshore platforms. But the main So yes, so we are carrying it on, but we're carrying it on in the form of the Offshore Bird Portal, which we introduced last year, which again is a not-for-profit endeavor designed to encourage all operators to actively contribute and report what birds they're seeing on the platforms in the interest of better understanding the interaction between birds and platforms, and also for the benefit of developing longer-term useful, up-to-date data sets that the scientific community can then have access to.
And how well used is the portal? How often do you get reports?
So last report I had was about 25 minutes ago, reporting a couple of birds that had been noted on the helideck. So it is probably get 2 or 3 reports a day. We're almost up to 60 individual platforms that are signed up to contribute, which is fantastic. Some people are recording daily, other people are recording, just when they see something that's of interest. But we're very excited about where we can go with this, and there's a lot of advantages to the Offshore Bird Portal that the North Sea Bird Club couldn't access. I mean, we have, modern digital formats for recording data remotely. So there's no need to send information back to shore as you used to have to do. So we're quite lucky in that respect that we've got much easier and more manageable ways of managing the data. So, the portal is where we're trying to create a sort of community of recorders and reporters from all of the operators in the North Sea. And following the workshop that we had at OEUK, the nesting bird workshop in January, there was a realization that there was a lot of different parties involved, a lot of different operators, there was different consultants, and everyone had snippets of information about their assets or their areas where they knew there was particular birds nesting or how many platforms they had birds nesting on. And it was one of the outcomes of that meeting, or one of the requests from that meeting, is that we started sharing, and we found a way of working more collaboratively so that we can all see that data. And so that's where the Offshore Nesting Bird Census concept came from, and in partnership with OEUK, we're going to implement it this year, get it started. And there's two parts to it this year. The first part, the initial survey or questionnaire, is a historical data questionnaire that we'd encourage everyone to participate in, just to get an understanding of what our current knowledge base is. And then the second part of the survey is to be undertaken in June, where you do a nesting bird count on your platform or in each of your assets during that June time period. And that's going to be quite a valuable suite of information. And even if you don't have birds nesting on your platform, that data is just as valuable to us as collecting data on where the birds are nesting. So we would encourage everyone to submit non-records as well as records, if that makes sense.
Okay. Do birds actively choose to nest on a platform?
So there's only a handful of species that are currently choosing to nest on platforms. And we've got kittiwakes, razorbills, guillemots, lesser black-backed gulls in the Norwegian sector, and carrion crows. It's quite rare to have non-sea birds nesting on platforms, but we do have carrion crows. And there is a suspicion on a couple of rigs in the northern North Sea that starlings are also starting to try and nest. But the main bird that we're interested in is kittiwake. Kittiwake represent probably 98% of all the records, and it's understandable why kittiwakes are choosing platforms that they make ideal sort of artificial nesting, sort of artificial cliff ledges, and there's a real possibility, and it's something that we're trying to look into just now. But there's a possibility that the net recruitment or the success of birds breeding offshore will likely be higher than the birds that are breeding in colonies onshore. And there's a number of reasons for that, including predation, more time, quality foraging because they're already out at sea. But that's research that we have to do at some point in the future.
So just following on from that, I guess a question on the chat. So what is the expectation for the survey? And would the idea be to encourage birds to nest or just to record what is nesting where?
So the purpose of the survey, first and foremost, is to better understand the geographic distribution of nesting birds. We know already that the southern North Sea I know of at least 20 platforms in the southern North Sea that have nesting kittiwakes. Some of the platforms, I was on a platform last week with hundreds of kittiwakes. But then as we start moving north, central North Sea, I think only has 3 platforms that I'm currently aware of. And in the northern North Sea, we only have 1 that I'm currently aware of. But we are not the only ones that are sort of aware of this data. And I know, having spoken to other peers and other consultants, that there's multiple assets that they're looking after or they're working with operators on that we aren't aware of. And the whole point is, if we start sharing this data, it will give us a much stronger understanding of the distribution of these birds, and particularly looking at areas where it may be an issue or maybe a concern. If we imagine a scenario where we decommission one platform that has a couple of thousand birds on it, where do those birds go to? I mean, they're very, from other scientific research that has been done on kittiwakes, when you remove one particular nest site, the birds from that nest site are actually found in very close adjacent colonies. So that's obviously going to have implication on your neighbors. So if you're taking a platform out here, how many of those birds are going to end up on nearby platforms? And so having this awareness and the sharing of knowledge is going to benefit all of us. Okay.
So the training that's coming in June, is that, what's that going to look like? Is it around bird identification or?
Yes, so we're fully, we're aware that, not everyone's as excited and passionate about birds on bird watching as maybe I am. But it's something that we've done with a number of operators now, giving them a fundamental level of training and understanding about what birds they need to be looking out for, what behaviours they need to be looking out for, because that's actually very important. And we're finding that's been really helpful in sort of kick-starting their ability to monitor what birds are using the platform. So it'll be a very high-level workshop, but it's just purely designed to give people that are coming to this new or don't have a lot of knowledge, and give them the tools to go and confidently go out and identify the birds that they're likely to see.
And will there be a booklet or something that assets will get, just so that, you know, they've got something at hand to identify the species?
So we will be giving everyone access to there's ID support on the Offshore Bird Portal, which is available to everyone that works for operators. So we'll make ID tools available to everybody, and the slide pack available to everyone through the Offshore Bird Portal, which is which has been designed to be a sort of central repository for information like this, and it's entirely free to use. But people are more than welcome to take a bird identification book out with them if they think it'll help. But I'm hoping, and I'm quite confident, that the way the workshop has been structured, it gives everyone enough of an understanding, particularly of the birds that we need to be watching out for, that they should be able to confidently ID them without any major problems.
Is the focus of the survey just the North Sea areas?
So it's everywhere within the UKCS. So everywhere. We're also aware that there's birds nesting in the Morecambe Bay area. In fact, the first platform that ever had kittiwakes nesting was about 30 years ago in the Morecambe Bay area. So that they've had an issue with them nesting there for longer than everyone. But yes, just the more data we get, and the more geographical coverage we have, the better and more useful the data set will be.
Okay. I have got something in the chat, and I don't know if it's a question. I'm just trying to pick my way through it. I tell you what, I'll just ask one question before I pick my way through the longer one. So how and where are the results recorded? So that's the portal. And do people have to sign up to the portal?
So I'll let Caroline answer the questions about the signing up. Oh, well, no, sorry, it is the portal, yes. So we encourage all of the operators to sign up, and you may find that, if you get in touch after, we can let you know if your particular operator's already signed up your assets to present data. And what was the other part of the question, Jill? Sorry, terrible memory.
It was really just access to the portal, that's you,
yes.
Caroline, is it?
Well,
yeah,
and also
that's
that
right,
I could perhaps answer about the survey, though, how if people, I presume, when it comes to getting access to the survey link. So we appreciate that, the operators will want to have some control over who's conducting the survey on their installation. We want to make sure it's the appropriate people for doing this. So the intention is to provide the link to complete the survey to the operators and for them to distribute as they see fit. So for either people to go and request from the operators to have the link, or for the operators to approach those, not just who work directly for them, but with all the service companies that will also be on the installation. So hopefully as it can be done as a controlled manner as possible. But if anybody does have any alternative suggestions, if you don't feel that's the best way to do it, then we'd be really interested to hear that.
I'm just going to read Craig's comment out, because it's really difficult to pick my way through it while I'm doing everything else. So Craig says, effort-based surveys are key to ensuring consistency in terms of presence or absence. I appreciate the size. Sorry, I'm just making my screen bigger. Now I've lost the message. Can you see them, Caroline? Appreciate the size of offshore structures will be variable. Yeah. Keen to hear from operators who have thought about buying any equipment, such as binoculars, if that's something that is needed. So I'm just going to summarize that. Do people taking part in the survey need binoculars or any other special equipment, Matt?
So in reality, no, they don't, because having done a number of offshore surveys from assets, the majority of the platform is excluding the undersize, is visible or accessible in some way from walkways or from vantage points. So 95% of birds that are nesting on platforms should be visible. Now, I fully appreciate Craig's comments about effort base, the effort required for each survey, and that's obviously something that we're not really in control of. So we encourage everyone that will be undertaking the surveys just to walk around every accessible area of the platform, at a reasonable walking pace, and record what birds are nesting and where. We appreciate fully it's not a perfect scientific study, and the way the questions and the queries have been structured within the questionnaire are designed in some respects, for the layman, for the non-bird watcher as well, because we're quite keen to ensure that the data we do get is useful in some format. But we're very happy if anyone has any suggestions of ways to improve how we're asking the questions or how we should mitigate against any inconsistencies in survey effort to put forward their comments and questions.
That was a bit that I couldn't see. So he was making the point that, is there a recommended amount of time to spend in the survey? Do you assign time every day, I guess? And his thought was it's more of a relatively quick, existing visible structures, recording the species and focusing on any nesting behaviour.
Yeah. So just to comment on that, so the reason why we're doing this in June is because that way we maximise the likelihood that kittiwakes in particular will be incubating. So they're more likely to be sitting on eggs, which means they'll be more likely to be readily recorded.
Okay. All right. Any more questions from the audience?
There's some in the chat, Jill. Sorry, I think somebody was on. You go.
Oh, you go. Is there a specific date in June, or is it any time throughout June, Matt?
Obviously, it's very hard to encourage everyone to do it on a specific day, but I would aim to do it towards the end of June, sort of the last week in June, if that's possible.
Okay.
But the data is still more than useful and more than relevant if it's taken, a few days either side of that.
So later in the month,
and just to pick up on
moving more into the brooding season, is that the point?
Well, yeah, we run the risk if we do it too late that once chicks have hatched, then fledged, that they'll start leaving the nest, and the adults will also be leaving the nest to feed the chicks. So it will be harder to get an accurate count. Whereas if we do it at the point where they're incubating the eggs, or more likely to be incubating, we can get a better understanding of how many nests there are.
All right. So the
and
next
just to answer the question on binoculars, there's no absolute necessity to have binoculars. They're very useful, and they're certainly going to be useful if you're recording more than nesting birds on your platform. If there's a lot of migrating birds and smaller passerines that will be passing through. So if you've got anyone that's interested in supporting the offshore bird portal and recording the birds that you're seeing offshore, including the migrants, then yes, but binoculars would be really helpful.
Right. So, Caroline, the steps to sign up for the next stages, is everybody comfortable about how they go about that? You're sending out that information from OEUK?
Sorry, my computer, I hope you can hear me okay. Everything's
Yeah,
very
can now.
delayed, so it takes me a while to be able to mute and unmute. So yes, the link has gone out with social posts that we've put out for to be involved in the training. Obviously, the training is open to those who are interested in finding out more. It just so you're not wasting your own time, it probably makes sense to talk to the operator of your installation first to make sure that you would be somebody that they would nominate in order to conduct the survey anyway. But you can use the link that's already gone out. I think, Jill, if you're happy for me to send you the link after this, you can send it out to all participants who are here today anyway. We're going to keep pushing this as well, so follow our LinkedIn page. I'll be putting emails out to OEUK members, which and although I appreciate there's some other stakeholders on the call as well who might not be in our distribution list, please do just get in touch. You see my email address here, so if you think you're not on any of the regular OEUK distribution lists, let me know and I'll make sure that you get the information as well. And please do just share it as widely as possible to your offshore network. It would be great to get as many people interested in this as we can.
Yeah, and it's just such a great project of, you know, and a great example of how everybody works together to deliver an initiative. And it does need everybody to pull together for this. So it can't just be MAC, it can't just be OEUK, it has to be a really joined up approach, which I think is exactly what's happening here.
Absolutely. And can I just, sorry, quickly, Jill, just to come in, just because we're talking about the portal quite a bit and now we're talking about the survey. I wonder, Mac, if you could just give a bit of clarification on how, although the portal's in existence, that things are going to be a bit different moving forward for how information is going to be shared and who will have access once the actual ONBC survey is complete.
Yes, so the ONBC data and the report that we generate, I mean, the scale of that report will be dictated to by how much effort we, as an industry, put into it. And I'm really hoping, and I'm delighted to see that we've got 30 plus people in the call today already. So that shows hopefully that there's a real genuine interest in supporting this initiative. It is for the benefit of everyone within the industry, and if we start talking, we start sharing data, then we can all produce better reports. We can all have a better understanding of what implications we may have at decommissioning. So the report will be made available to everybody. It'll be submitted through OEUK, and I'm sure that they will. I don't want to speak out of turn, Caroline, but they will ensure that it's distributed accordingly to everyone that requests it.
Okay, so everybody's got the link for the training to sign up to that. Everybody knows what would be involved in the survey. Any more questions before we wrap this up? Either raise your hand or pop it in the chat box. Otherwise, from my perspective, the few slides that I went through before we started with the Q&A, I'll send them to everybody registered on this call. I'll also send you a link to a recording of the call. That would also be on YouTube and shared through socials for the rest of this week. Anything more you want to add, Mac, Caroline, or Jess?
Yeah, there's just 2 points that I want to bring up. Firstly, just to reiterate what Caroline was saying about encouraging everyone to sign up. I'm sure there's many assets that have people that are interested in birds, and tapping into that unexploited resource is a brilliant way of the people that have got a good understanding of birds are already really well placed to undertake these surveys or undertake the census for us. And that could be really, really useful to tap into that. And the other thing to say is that 2024 is the first year of the ONBC, but it's something that we're going to be doing every single year from now on. So we are expecting this to be a long-term data set that benefits everybody.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you to the panel, Matt, Jess and Caroline. Thank you to the rest of you for giving up your lunch break to hear what we have to say today. As I say, if you can find out more information on any of this through OEUK, through the Xodus website, or through erepsnetwork.com. I've got all of your details and I will share that this afternoon. Okay. If everybody's happy, I think that's us finished. So thanks again for your time and I will be in touch.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Um,